So, welcome to Poly Role Models. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Andy Eisenson. I am a mediator and attorney, and I live in Brooklyn.
Awesome.
I've been practicing polyamory for about 10 years, and
Well, that was my first question.
that's all I got. I
Well,
really like.
all right. Well, yeah. Well, that was my first question. So, what does your relationship dynamic look like?
Well, at the moment, I would say it looks a little bit like, mm, those that non-Newtonian uh, material that you make when you mix like cornstarch and Elmer's glue,
Yes, I'm.
where like it kind of expands to fill the space available to it, and it wiggles. And if you poke it hard, it gets kind of firm. But if you push your hands into it gently, it's very soft.
I feel like this is the. I feel like this is the best explanation I've ever gotten for somebody's polyamory.
So it's not it's not linear. It's it's fluid and complicated and exciting. I have some partners that I've been with for a really long time. I have some that blast into and out of my life intermittently in brief explosions of wonderment. I have some that are close by. I have some that are far away. I have a very um, broad understanding of what love is and what a relationship is, and I try not to nail things down too much.
Nice, good answer. What aspects of polyamory do you feel you excel at?
Oh gosh. Um, I'm really excited. So, the distinction that some people make is like between like parallel polyamory and what's called kitchen table polyamory.
Yes.
Or parallel is like you have your relationships, but they don't really interact with each other.
Yeah.
And kitchen table polyamory is everyone comes down and has breakfast together in the morning. Um, and I think, and the latter is the kind that is really more my speed.
Okay.
Um, I I think if I'm good at anything, it's that I'm really lucky in the people that I have around me. Because if they're such exemplary and incredible and brilliant people, of course they're gonna have wonderful relationships with each other as well as with me. And so it just positions me in this um, beautiful, shifting, complicated web of interpersonal relationships. That are some are sexual, some are not, some are romantic, some are not. But the important thing is that everybody's got each other's back in
Yeah.
whatever way makes sense for those individual people within the web.
Fair enough. I feel like my polyamory is the same way. So what do you feel like you struggle with?
Mm. Well, I mean, feelings are difficult, right? Like having feelings is the worst. Talking about feelings is challenging, um, and I feel like for a lot of us, there's really a pressure to perform like everything is awesome all the time, and you never have bad feelings because bad feelings mean something is wrong.
Yeah.
And so lately, I've been finding myself really challenged not to take bad feelings as a sign of a problem.
Yeah.
That I can feel insecure, I can feel scared, I can feel angry, I can feel anxious, and the only thing that's necessarily evidence of is my own feeling, and that I can't I can't deal with that feeling by pretending it's not there, or by trying to shift the material circumstances of my world to make it go away. I have to actually address the feeling head on and using my words like a grown up.
Gotcha.
And that's challenging, I think, for many people. And it gets exponentially more challenging the more people are involved.
All right. Well, the next question was how do you address it, but it sounds like you kind of answered that in there.
Well, I think the way that I address it is with trust. Like, if the reason that it's scary to express a bad feeling or to express a fear or an anxiety or or anger, if the reason that it's scary is because I'm afraid that my relationship isn't strong enough to hold that negativity, or I'm afraid that my partner would only want to be with me if everything was fine and easy, then the tool to address it is trusting my partner, trusting the relationship, trusting the communication in the relationship, and knowing that it's strong enough to hold those things even though they're painful.
Okay. Fair. All right. In terms of risk aware or safer sex, what do you and your partners do to protect one another?
Well, we everyone's got their own practice, and so for the relationships that are sexual, we have whenever anyone wants to change a part of their practice, then everyone who's sort of connected in there has to be informed and part of it. So it's really about everybody having their own agency in their body and finding ways that everyone's personal practice and personal agency can fit together in a way that makes everybody doesn't push anybody beyond their own acceptable level of risk. And it is a complicated practice, and sometimes it takes a lot of zhuzhing, because safer sex conversations are never just about safer sex.
Yeah.
It's never just about what barriers you're using and what types of relationships you do or don't want to use barriers with. Like, there's always more feelings underneath that about trust and about safety and about bodies and about sex, and all of that comes into play, even if you think that even if on the surface level you're just talking about latex.
Yeah.
Or polyester.
What is the worst mistake you've made in your polyamorous history, and how did you rebound from that?
That I have made this mistake more times than I am happy about, and it's the mistake of thinking that that the feeling of love is strong enough to overcome any problem.
Yeah.
And specifically, there's one problem that I keep finding that to be not true about, and it's the problem of a partner who's not actually polyamorous.
I see.
And I keep in my history, I have repeatedly thought, well, this person loves me so much, and I love them so much, and we're gonna figure out a way to make it okay.
Yeah.
But it always ends up with both partners feeling and having tangible evidence to suggest that they're not enough. Because if my partner wants me to be monogamous with them, then nothing I can give them is enough to make up for the deficit they feel from me giving love to other people. And they feel like nothing they can give me, nothing about their love for me, unless it's evidenced to be enough by the fact of me becoming monogamous with them, couldn't possibly be enough. And so I've followed that feeling of love when the circumstances were, when that misalignment was there, more than a few times, because I just, I was just so idealistic. I just believed in that love so much. But that has proved itself for me repeatedly to be a mistake.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. Yeah, I know about that one. Um, so what self identities are important to you, and how do you feel like being polyamorous intersects with those self identities?
I would say that the first identity that I would say is important there is that I would self identify as anti capitalist.
Okay.
Um, in it's my belief that capitalism and enforced monogamy are really tied together, because we get taught by all of the culture and media and stories that we get told. We get taught that love is finite, that when we work in love, we work in a scarcity economy. There's only so much to go around, and you have to prove yourself to be worthy of it, or else you've failed, and there won't be any for you. And it's completely ridiculous. But capitalism is an orthodoxy. It only works if you believe in it.
Yeah.
And so it has to infiltrate every corner of our worldview in order to stay strong. And so, of course, it infiltrates our understandings of love. But I think we can start to liberate our bodies from capitalism by liberating our heart from its orthodoxies. And if we imagine, instead of being scarce, that love could be abundant, it changes everything. And and if you think about it, like it is completely ridiculous to imagine that love is scarce. If you light a candle with another candle, the first candle is not less on fire.
Yeah.
And so I think in a practice of living in a way that's resistant to what capitalism tries to teach us, it's about letting love be abundant and blossom into everything that it can be, and not constrain it with the fear that is the substance of capitalism.
Understood.
Yeah, so I'm also queer and trans, and those things are relevant both by reason of I don't think living in Brooklyn and being queer and trans, you really can be monogamous. I don't think that's really a thing. But also because both of those things involve thinking critically about the stories that I was told when I was growing up about who I was supposed to be and how I was supposed to live, and going through them and taking out the things that I actually wanted, that actually made sense to me, and keeping those and throwing away the rest and building something new around them.
Okay.
So in the same way as when I was young, everyone, all of the stories that I was told about what my life was going to be involved monogamy. They involved heterosexuality. They involved being a certain gender.
Yeah.
They involved living in a certain way. And once you get sort of a crowbar in there, and open yourself a little bit to the possibility that the stories you were told about who you were supposed to be might not be applicable or might not be real at all, they all sort of come tumbling down.
Yeah.
And then you get this glorious opportunity to create the self that you actually want to be, and build yourself up in a way that is critical of and resistant to the way that those blueprints are constraining.
Fair. I've had conversations about masculinity with Bex Caputo of the Dildorks, saying roughly the same thing.
Yeah, I love what Bex has to say.
Yeah, we both do. Do you have any groups, projects, websites, blogs, etc. that you're involved with that you'd like to promote?
Well, let's see. I have there's a law firm that I work at. It's Diana Adams Law and Mediation, and we do education and advocacy and representation for people in non-traditional and polyamorous and queer and chosen families. So we do family law, but from the perspective of your family is what you make it. and we shift and tweak and change the law to fit what our families actually look like instead of trying to change our families to fit the law.
Awesome. Is that limited to New York?
So the direct representation that we can do, in terms of actually being somebody's lawyer, is limited to New York. But we do education all over, and also the mediation and alternative justice stuff that we do is, that can go anywhere also. So, helping families create family agreements and build structures for sustainability and mutual care. That's not state specific.
Awesome. Awesome.
The other project that I'm very excited about is called the Rev, and it's a queer and trans intentional community and land project in upstate New York near Poughkeepsie.
Okay.
I know you may get hate mail for me calling that upstate. It's in the Hudson Valley. Upstate is anywhere north of the Bronx.
That's how I feel about it. I grew up in the tri-state area, so yeah, that's my take on it too.
Great.
Yeah.
And so that's a project that I'm really putting my whole heart into. It's my own poly family that's starting it, and all of the work that I've been doing, learning about alternative justice systems and community building tools and and communication tools and all of these things. I'm putting all of that towards building a community for us that is strong and resilient and sustainable and built out of mutual care and trust. And probably by the time this airs, it's really going to be up and running in such a way that people who need to get out of the city can come and stay. We'll be hosting events. We'll be having retreats, and I would love for you to see it, Kevin. It's really, really beautiful.
That sounds really good. That sounds like something. That sounds like somewhere I want to visit.
You got to come visit. It's gorgeous.
Awesome. Hey, I really appreciate you taking the time, especially like having just hopped off a plane like 10 seconds ago from Germany. So I appreciate you taking the time.
My jet lag is starting to fade, but it's tenacious.
Yeah, fair. All right. So again, thanks for being a part of this. Being a part of Poly Role Models.
Thank you, and good luck with your book tour.
All right. Thank you.